What's up, everybody? This is Tiana from Straight from the Crates. Today we are reviewing the Clipse album, Let God Sort 'Em Out. And I would say, in my opinion, that this was the best album of 2025. Specifically, being a geriatric millennial, this was something was long awaited. So I'm excited about this review and let's get right into it. So, hip hop doesn't get reunions like this very often. Excuse me. After more than a decade apart, the Clipse, which is a Virginia duo made up of Pusha T and No Malice, formerly known as Malice, and I would like to refer to him as that during this review. They came back with an album that feels like it could, sit right next to their classics. If you've been following them since Lord Willin' or the legendary Hell Hath No Fury, you know the expectations for this album were insanely high, and somehow they delivered. The whole album is produced by Pharrell, which immediately reconnects the group to the sonic DNA that made them special in the first place. They have minimal beats, cold drums, space for bars, but as good as the album is, there's one thing about this release that irritated collectors, and it revolves around one song, and that song is So Be It. Now, the elephant in the room is because the song, which was one of the So Be It, which was one of the standout songs during the rollout of the album, was not on the first vinyl pressing at all, which I have right here. There's nothing on there. There's two versions. So Be It Part 1, So Be It Part 2 is which they let most of us hear before the album ever dropped, which I was expecting to be on the album, but there was no So Be It at all on the album. And then they released this one, which I also have, which has the original version that wasn't able to get cleared on. And I'm really pissed about it because it's like I just wasted $38 on this album when I wanted all of the songs. But I digress. Let me get back to the review. So it wasn't on the first vinyl pressing at all, and not even the early single version. So there was nothing, just nothing. So if you bought the first pressing of Let God Sort 'Em Out, the moment it dropped and put the record on your turntable, you would eventually realize there was something strange happening. One of the most talked about songs connected to the album just isn't there. And that's crazy because the track had already built up so much buzz with us fans. People were already talking about how dark and cinematic the beat was, especially of the haunting sample from the Saudi singer Talal Madah. That flipped it into something completely crazy. But when the vinyl arrived, the song was completely missing. That kind of thing is incredibly frustrating because when you do buy a record on release day, you expect to be getting the definitive version of the album, not an incomplete one. Then later, something else strange happened. The second pressing of the vinyl suddenly includes So Be It. And this time the song appears with the original sample, the one many fans already felt was the best version of the track. So now we have this strange situation where the album exists in two different physical forms. The first pressing, the song So Be It is completely absent. The second pressing, the song appears with the original sample version, which means the album literally changed after it was already released, and that almost never happens in classic vinyl. Like back in the 90s and early 2000s, albums were finished before they were pressed. Now, labels sometimes rush physical releases while sample clearances are still being worked out, which means collectors end up in this weird position where the version of the album you own depends on when you bought it. That's not fair. That's actually total bullshit. Now, controversy aside, the production on this album deserves serious attention. Like, Pharrell did not try to modernize Clipse. He didn't chase current trap trends. Instead, he doubled down on the minimal style that made the Clipse classics feel timeless. There was sparse drum patterns, dark melodies, lots of empty space for the verses to breathe. It feels closer in spirit to Hell Hath No Fury in that nothing happened. Like we just got put right back into a time warp. And it actually works. And I think because the Clipse are great storytellers, they didn't need like crowded beats. They needed room to rap. And another highlight of the album is the appearance of Stove God Cooks, which I was caught off guard. Like he's tight. If you follow, the underground hip hop, you already know Stove God is one of the most charismatic voices in rap today. When he appears on the track FICO, he injects a burst of wild personality onto the record. And the collaboration actually represents something bigger because Stove God style comes out, I would say, the gritty underground wave connected to Griselda, which itself was influenced heavily by the kind of coke rap storytelling that Clipse helped popularize. So hearing them on the same record almost feels like two generations of the same movement meeting in the middle. This album also raises a bigger conversation that I think is happening in hip hop right now. Because some of the most respected rap albums of the past few years have come from artists who've been in the game for decades. Think about it. Nas, he's been on an incredible late career run. Black Thought continues dropping lyrical masterclasses. Killer Mike just won major awards for his work, and now the Clipse has returned, sounding just as sharp as they did 20 years ago. The difference is that I think these artists come from an era where albums were crafted carefully, not assembled quickly for streaming, and you can hear that in the structure of this project. It's deliberate, it's focused, it's disciplined. Even with the frustration about the missing song, I'm going to relax about it. One thing is quite clear. Clipse did not come back just to be nostalgic. They came back to prove they can still make serious hip hop albums. And honestly, they did succeed. Because after all these years, Pusha T and Malice still sound dangerous on a beat. And that's something very few veteran artists can pull off. That's all I have today from Straight from the Crates. I do apologize for, you know, saying a couple cuss words. My bad. But I want to talk about this. Like, you guys let me know what your feeling is about the album, about the vinyl releases, and, remember to share, like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll be back for another one. This is me from Straight from the Crates. Peace.